What's going on, Frag fam? Max Forte again with another video. This time it's going to be a video on hacks. Oftentimes I get asked a lot of these questions, so I wanted to cover. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of my favorite hacks in fragrance. So here's a quick one that it's really obvious. It seems a little bit redundant to talk about, but it's quite, funny that you see a lot of times people complaining about some of these fragrances that don't last, but you really need to pay attention to the strength, the concentration, and the notes. So pay attention to the concentration and notes. What I mean by that is, if you're going to buy a citrus fragrance like an Artisan Pure by John Varvatos, which I just talked about, which by the way actually performs really well for a citrus scent, but in general, a citrus scent is more volatile, which means it's going to evaporate a lot quicker than, say, a more denser, richer, gourmand kind of scent that has notes like vanilla, some resinous, incense. Those type fragrances would definitely last 2 to 3 hours longer on average than a citrus aromatic base scent. So keep that in mind when you're buying your fragrance. Understand that a last concentrated fragrance, also an EDT, an Eau de Cologne, or like a 4711, which is a pure cologne, it's going to give you about 2 to 3 hours if you're lucky. But if you're buying something that's an eau de parfum or an extrait de parfum, normally, as a rule of thumb, you should be able to get a couple more hours than you would from a regular eau de toilette. These are rule of thumbs. Obviously, it'll vary from company to company, but in general, it's something to really pay attention to the concentration and the note breakdown for your fragrance to last longer or last on your skin. So the second hack here is basically something, again, another common knowledge that it might seem redundant, but it's good to emphasize. I want to reiterate that fragrance lifetime. How old is your juice? This is something that I get asked on a weekly basis. Hey Max, I have a fragrance that's a couple years old. Is it too old? Should I get rid of it? The bottom line is your nose knows. If it smells good, it's still good. But obviously you have to take some things into consideration. And obviously storage plays a factor. I want to touch upon this real quickly. You got to make sure, fragrance enemies like oxygen. So air, oxygen. If you have a fragrance like Lauderman, just like this one. This fragrance here is, I believe, from 1989. This is a splash-on fragrance, as you see here. Still smells fantastic. It's, over 20 years old, but you have to be careful. You have to make sure it's well stored. You have to make sure it's really tight and closed, that no oxygen is going to get in here, because air will oxidize your juice, will change its molecules, hence it's going to make the fragrance smell bitter or like it went bad. So really be careful with oxygen. Obviously, temperature changes. Do not, I repeat, do not store your fragrances in your bathroom, because that's going to kill your juice. The temperatures in the bathroom go up, you take a hot shower, you get out, just up and down. It's going to destroy those molecules. Your juice will go bad. So store in a temperature controlled environment, between room temperature. If you have a little cooler, you can also keep your fragrances there between 55 and 65. They will last forever. I have juices in my fragrance collection that are older than me, and they still smell amazing. So one quick tool for you, if you must know how old your juice is checkcosmetics.net, which I'll have the link below. You guys can check it out. I've been using it for years. It's really great to gauge and see how old your fragrance is. But keep in mind, they think that 36 months is the rule of thumb for a fragrance to go bad. Obviously, they want you to keep buying more, but don't listen to that. Your fragrance can be older than 36 months or 3 years and still be good if you take into effect the things that I talked to you about in the beginning. Now, here's another one that I get asked every week. Hey Max, how do I make my fragrances last longer? This is something that everybody wants. They want the longer last, beast mode, 10 plus hour fragrances. And a lot of times, as we know, the market today is changing. So your fragrances, are changing with their concentration. You're lucky if they're going to give you 5 to 6 hours or a day's work. So there's a couple hacks that I like to share with you guys. The first one is Vaseline. Obviously, take a shower, make sure your body's warm, your pores are opened, and you put some Vaseline in the areas that you're going to apply that fragrance. And normally it will lock that fragrance in, which is great. It's going to give you a longer lasting approach. Another thing that I like to do, and you guys know I do that a lot, is I spray my clothes. That alone will make that fragrance last all day, sometimes even the next day, depending on the fragrance. If it's strong enough, it'll stay on your clothes for days on. But remember, your clothes is not going to make that fragrance transition. So for a lot of times, what you're going to have on your clothes is going to be the introduction, which is, if you like the introduction of a fragrance, it's going to stay on there for a longer period. Just be cautious and be careful with darker juices. If the fragrance is dark, a lot of times it will stain. If you have like a lighter shirt like this, it'll leave a mark. So be very careful with that. If it's a lighter juice, most of the time, no problem there. But if it's a very heavy concentrated fragrance that's dark, like Black Afgano, for example, you might leave stains on your shirt. So be careful with that. And you can also use a fragrant-free body lotion if you want to also lock in that scent. Just like the Vaseline effect, it'll do the same job. One thing that's been getting a lot of popularity in the fragrance community is this little product here called Canvas and Concrete. Now, this particular product here supposedly helps lock in your fragrance. I've tried a little bit. As you can see here, there's a little dent on this. I like it, but I have to be honest with you, I do think that the Vaseline or fragrant-free body lotion actually gives me more lasting power than the Canvas and Concrete. But for some people, they swear by this. You might want to try it. It's cheap. I believe it's like 15 or 20 bucks. You really can't go wrong. It'll definitely enhance the life of the fragrance, but not as much as it does for me with the Vaseline and the body feel lotion. One last thing with this lock in your scent hack, obviously an atomizer. It doesn't have to be a fancy one. It could be like a plastic one. Whatever you got available to you, you can always carry a travel atomizer. I always have this handy. You know, I always carry my favorite fragrances, especially those that I know that don't last more than 5-6 hours, like John Varvatos. You know, it's known for not having a lasting power. And I go ahead and just reapply throughout the day and refresh, and you can do the same. All right, so this is a really cool one. This is an ISO E-Super Secret. So basically, this is a hack. This is an ISO E-Super fragrance that we all know. This is molecule on eccentric molecules. You can actually go on eBay, on Amazon. There's a lot of different places, you know, fragrant compound websites that will sell you for a very reasonable price a ISO E-Super solution. And basically what that is, it's a pheromone-based solution that has a larger molecule which takes longer to evaporate. And the smell of it, it's kind of like a cedar meets vetiver on a creamy, semi-sweet kind of effect. It smells fantastic. You can actually layer your fragrances with this. You're going to get tremendous attention. I don't know what it is about this. It just develops on people's chemistry and people's skin chemistry. Depending on your chemistry, it's going to develop differently. This smells different on me than it does on my wife. On my wife, it's really creamy and sweet. And on me, it's more like a cedar chip kind of scent. Nevertheless, it smells great and it definitely garners a lot of compliment and attention from people. So for those of you that like to layer like I do, try to layer this with your favorite fragrances and you're going to see how amazing the effect that you're going to get with ISO E-Super solution. It's just amazing. Try it and thank me later. The last hack here is a very simple one. Try it before you buy it. Don't fall for the assay test strip trick. A lot of times these assays are told to give people test strips as they walk by. That smell is the introduction of the fragrance, and a lot of times you're going to fall in love with that introduction. You're going to buy that fragrance. Or if you smell a fragrance on a coworker or somebody on the street, and you go to someone, hey, what are you wearing? And you love that scent. Be aware that the fragrance you liked that you smell on somebody else or on that test strip will change sometimes drastically with your body chemistry. So first things first, try it before you buy it. Don't be a fool. Don't spend your hard-earned money on stuff that you don't know if it's really going to work for you and gel with your body chemistry. So get a decant, get a sample, wear it out, wear it for a day, wear it for a few hours. Make sure, number one, you're going to like the way that fragrance develops on your skin. And number two, make sure it's going to last for you. So those were the hacks that I had for you today. Please make sure you drop your comments below and let me know what I missed. If there's any hacks that you guys try on yourselves and actually work for you that I forgot to mention, I'd love to read your comments. We can start a little conversation about hacks, which is always a fun subject to talk about. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for a lot more great content, which is really often. Enable notifications so you guys always get first dibs on what's going on in the fragrance world. And of course, as always, fragrance family, stay fragrant, and of course, keep on spraying. I'll see you in the next one.